Coming up with story ideas is easier said than done. How do you know if a story... How do you know if a story idea is even any good? How do you know what you'd even enjoy writing about? What would even make you excited enough to get out of bed every morning and sit in front of your laptop for hours and write it? How do you come up with that irresistible premise and those lovable characters that feel flawed and human and relatable? Ow. If you've been wrestling with these questions, don't worry, you're not alone. Many writers struggle to come up with good story ideas. It is not just you. So if you're thinking right now,
I just can't come up with good story ideas. I'm just not a person who can. I don't have any creativity. I'm blocked. I have writer's block. I can't think anymore. I can't be creative anymore. I have no inspiration.
Whatever your misbelief is right now, I want you to write it down on a piece of paper, okay? And then burn it, and then dance on the ashes, because it is not true. The secret to coming up with a brilliant story idea is simply a matter of asking yourself the right questions. That's why in this video, I'm going to share with you the ultimate tried and true proven method for brainstorming your ideal comfort book. I have personally used this framework again and again, and I've watched other writers use this framework with great success. And the best part is that it's fun, it's easy, it only takes a few minutes, and there are zero writing skills or experience required. It's impossible to go through this exercise and not come up with a story idea. I'm so serious, and I'm going to prove it by letting you watch over my shoulder while I go through this method myself and come up with a story from scratch. Let's do this. Welcome back. If you're new here, I'm Abby, and I help writers make their stories matter and make their author dreams come true. And if that's something you're on a mission to do, you're going to want to subscribe to this channel because I would love to have you here in the community. Step 0, take a deep breath. And just shake out any tension, any feelings of frustration, feelings of like hitting a wall over and over again. Just that actually feels really good. You should do that. There's no right or wrong way to do this, okay? But there's one thing that I want you to keep in mind throughout this exercise, and that is, what is the kind of book that you would like to read that doesn't exist yet? That if you walked into a bookstore and you saw it on the shelf, you'd be like, oh my gosh, yes, I need this right now. I'm going to neglect my entire TBR to read this one next. That's the book we're going to brainstorm today. The book that feels like a self-indulgent escape from reality to sit down and write it. The thing you want to cancel all your plans to spend time with. The book that excites you to get out of bed every morning and open your laptop. Might seem impossible right now, but it won't seem impossible in a few minutes. So let's grab our computers and get started. Okay, first thing we're going to figure out here, the first step of this process is to decide what genre and vibe we want to write in. And I like to start with this because this is going to frame up the entire story, right? If you're not sure what genre you want to write in, then you're going to be pulled in a million different directions. So first, let's figure out the overarching vibe of the story. And to do this, I want you to ask yourself, what is my comfort genre? And if you don't know what your comfort genre is at the moment, go to your local bookshelf, hint, you may have more than one, and do a quick inventory of your books. What genre is taking up the most real estate on your bookshelf? This is probably your comfort genre, the one that you reach for every time you're in a bookstore. Now you could choose a genre that you're less familiar with, but I recommend choosing one that you are super comfortable with, one that feels like coming home to write or read this genre. For me, that has always been contemporary, cozy, romantic stories that take place in the real world. But recently I have been on like kind of a mystery kick for like the past year. I've been reading a lot more mystery books and books that kind of fall into the category of maybe some psychological thriller. Nothing like too spooky and crazy, but more on the mysterious side because it gives me a lot of escapism to be able to try to solve a mystery while I'm reading a book. So that's the genre that I'm going to go with, is contemporary rom-com or mystery, preferably a mix of both. Next question, what is your favorite guilty pleasure trope? And by guilty pleasure, I mean something that is maybe overdone, maybe you've seen it a lot, maybe you feel like,
ugh, that's so cliche, everybody does that.
But in your heart of hearts, you will never get sick of it. Maybe it's enemies to lovers, or a fantasy competition, or a city girl moves to a small town. For me, those tropes are, you guessed it, enemies to lovers. And I also really like the surprise inheritance trope, like the person who didn't realize that they're going to inherit something. It's like, surprise, you've just inherited like this incredible fortune. I feel like that's become more popular lately. Found family of misfits. I will always love that trope. And kind of similar to the surprise inheritance trope, the didn't know I was a royal trope. Like Anastasia or the Princess Diaries. That is my childhood. I will never not love that trope.
Me? A princess? Shut up!
In a few words, describe the vibe, mood, and aesthetic that gives you the most escapism when you read a book. So this is gonna be different for everyone. A lot of you probably have like a fantasy vibe in mind, because I know a lot of readers love fantasy for escapism, but for me, it's like anything that feels a little bit unfamiliar and kind of a mysterious or grand, a mysteriously grand or luxurious setting of any kind, like a mansion, a castle, a private island, or it could be like a romantic country or city that is better in my imagination than reality. For the vibes, I'm gonna go with like posh, classy, old money vibes. And I love, love, love when stories feel like a vintage film, even if it's modern. And by that, I mean like maybe a lack of technology or more sophisticated dialogue. I don't know, just like you feel transported to a different time period, even if it's taking place in the present day. Next prompt, I'm a sucker for plots that center around, you fill in the blank. For me, it's heists, fish out of water. So a character who's like flung into a new situation that they're not used to. Opposites forced to get along. Anything with like fake or secret identities can be really fun. Espionage, but in like a fun, lighthearted way. Nothing too intense, but fun. Like fun in games, spy stuff. Yeah.
Now what?
Take another left through the window. After you.
And then like someone trying to get revenge or avenge a loved one. I don't know, something about that. I just really, really love that conflict for a character. Because there's always a good reason behind it, or there has to be. And so then it's like, all this juicy internal conflict spirals out of that. Next prompt, I don't care if it's overdone. I love me a good fill in the blank again. Ancient prophecy, fake dating scheme, evil queen, whatever it may be. This is just for like random tropes that you personally like. For me, that would be dysfunctional families. I also like the trope of there being a wager or a bet of some kind. I also do love a good fake dating scheme. Those can be very fun when they're done right, when they have good pacing and they feel like they make sense. This trope gets a lot of hate, but I do love me a good love triangle when it's done well. I like to have a character to actively root for and a character to actively hate. Okay, moving on to our romance section. And don't freak out if you're not into romance, if you don't want to include romance in your story, you can skip this part. So first things first, what is your favorite comfort romance trope? For example, like enemies to lovers or rivals to lovers, childhood sweethearts, second chance romance, take your pick. For me, it would be rivals to lovers, reluctant allies in a time of crisis. And I also really like fake relationship, real feelings. Next prompt, what is your favorite type of romance? For me, it is forbidden love. I also love class gap and grumpy sunshine. What is the best form of forced proximity? Stranded together, coworkers, fake dating, etc. For me, it's definitely stranded together. Two characters that are like forced to live or work in the same space and getting along for the sake of a common goal. What is the juiciest obstacle that could force them apart? So maybe it's like a vengeful ex, or a dark secret is revealed, or one of them is already taken, like they're already engaged and the other person didn't know it. I love it when a dark secret comes to light and the other character is like shocked and betrayed by it.
You used me? I was just part of your con to get her money?
Or if one character is kind of like forced to betray the other person to protect them. Next prompt, what is your favorite opposites attract trope? Upper class and working class. Like I said, the class gap romance I really like and can work in a lot of different genres. And I also like grumpy sunshine, but like in the format of the grumpy good girl and the sunshine bad boy. Tessa and Weston vibes. Not that Weston is a bad boy. I mean, he's like the most soft golden retriever ever. And lastly, what would your ideal meet cute involve? I'm gonna say insults for sure. Possibly mistaken identity. That can be kind of fun. And then of course, regret and embarrassment on their second encounter. All right, next up is our character questions. So we're gonna do 2 main characters, but you can adapt this to be as many main characters as you want to have. I'm gonna start with 2. So first we're gonna start with our main male character. So in a few words, describe your ideal male main character. So maybe grumpy and protective, sunshiny comic relief, etc. For me, it's very specific. The golden retriever who can quickly turn into an absolute pit bull if someone he loves gets hurt or threatened. Sunshiny comic relief with a little bit of like, hurt someone I love and I'll kill you energy. Adventurous, passionate, charming, funny, and free-spirited. I love a main male character who is struggling with avenging a loved one while slowly being consumed by his vengeance and heartbreak. Yeah, kind of like a Kaz Brecker vibe. And if you're kind of drawing a blank here and you're not sure what character is like your comfort character, like how do I create a character that I would absolutely fall in love with? Here's a really simple, easy hack for this. Ask yourself, who is that one character from like a film or a TV show that when you're having like the absolute worst day, you can look up just a scene pack of this character on YouTube and you will instantly feel better just watching a few videos or a few scenes with them.
Is to make it look real. Maybe I'm foolish, maybe I'm blind, thinking I can see through.
You know who it is. So that is the character that I want you to think about. Like, what are their strengths? What are their weaknesses? What are the things that you personally connect with about them? And that's where you are going to draw your inspiration from. Okay, so I'm drawn to a male main character whose greatest strengths are protective of his loved ones, charming and funny, and is like a rebellious free spirit. And they can't just have strengths, of course, they also have to have weaknesses. So I'm drawn to a male main character whose greatest weaknesses are loses his temper easily, wears his heart on his sleeve, escapes emotional pain. Like, just cannot deal with it. This will also like instantly make your characters more human because you don't want your characters to just feel like the perfect cookie cutter human being, you know, Mary Sue, Gary Stu. This person would never exist in real life because they have zero faults whatsoever. So make sure they have strengths as well as weaknesses. Next, kind of a fun one, choose a look for him. Academic, posh, badass, rugged, etc. For this character, I'm going to choose kind of like a rugged pirate vibe. Think Thomas Brodie Sangster in The Queen's Gambit.
Can I ask you a question?
Well, that depends on whether or not the answer is going to give you an edge.
Seriously?
That's a good aesthetic. Okay, and plot twist, he's secretly... what? I kind of like the fugitive vibe, like outlaw fugitive. He is secretly a con artist. Okay. I like this character already. I think he has a lot of contradictions, but we can make it work. we can definitely make it work. Okay, next let's build our female main character. So in a few words, describe your ideal main female character. Again, I want you to think of that one character that you're like, I love this character so much. And for me, it's harder to actually come up with a female main character than a male main character. So I try to think of like, who are my favorite female characters? And for the sake of this exercise, I'm going to draw inspiration from like Anastasia and Shirley and Danielle from Ever After. Kind of an imaginative, plucky heroine from humble beginnings who defies expectations and fights injustice. So she's witty, stubborn, fiery, independent, and fiercely loyal. Yes, all those things. I love a main female character who's struggling with finding her sense of self-worth and her place in the world, all while feeling like she doesn't belong. I feel like that's a common conflict that all three of those characters share, but they're not defeated by that. I'm drawn to a female main character whose greatest strengths are courageous and outspoken, for sure, loyal and compassionate, and of course, witty and imaginative. I'm drawn to a female main character whose greatest weaknesses are, let's see, drawing from her internal conflict, insecurity about her worth, impulsive and stubborn. Those could be weaknesses. I guess emotionally intense. Choose a look for her. Soft, elegant, and feminine. And then plot twist for her, she's secretly, well, I kind of was talking earlier about liking the trope of didn't know I was a royal and a surprise inheritance. So I'm not sure which one I'm gonna go with yet, but I'm just gonna say she's secretly either a princess or an heiress. Okay, I'm really excited about these ingredients. These are like all the ingredients that I love in a story that would make me like impulse buy a book. But they're just a list of ingredients for now. So how can I turn all these ingredients into my ultimate comfort book? That's the question. By the way, I've compiled all of these questions and these brainstorm prompts into a fun little printable template that you can grab right now and print off and follow along with me. In the description box below, you will find the link to that template so you can grab it, download it, print it off, follow along, or just do it on your own time after this video and see what you come up with by gathering all of your favorite story ingredients and blending them together. Let's dive back into the computer and see what we can do with the ingredients that I've gathered of my personal favorites. Okay, so scrolling back up to the top here, I can see we want heists, right? We want a fish out of water situation, secret identities, and like lighthearted espionage. We also have dysfunctional family, fake dating scheme, love triangle, maybe. All in like a mysteriously grand or luxurious setting. And at the heart of it, we're gonna have a surprise inheritance, an enemies to lovers romance, and kind of like I didn't know I was a royal situation. So, knowing that the girl is going to be the princess or the heiress, and knowing that the guy is going to be secretly an outlaw or con artist, it is already there. If you look at these ingredients that you've come up with, you can probably already start to see the potential for a story that's already emerging from the ingredients alone. And all we have to do is put everything into the blender and pulse it up. Just try to come up with one paragraph that combines all of these ingredients, or most of them, in a coherent premise. So I'm gonna look at my ingredients for a minute and think and see what I come up with. A down-on-her-luck orphaned girl who can't remember her past gets approached by a charming, handsome stranger who convinces her that she is actually the lost heiress to a massive empire. He pretends he wants to help her secure her inheritance, but really he's a con artist out to heist the fortune for himself. She's a fish out of water, thrown into the lavish world of this old money family where she must unravel the threads of her past and try to figure out who she really is and who she can trust in this world of twisted loyalties. Meanwhile, the main male character is getting close to the family just so he can steal the inheritance and get revenge for some sort of betrayal that happened in the past. He and the heiress have to set aside their differences, get along for the sake of a common goal, maybe fake a relationship, and probably double-cross each other at the end. Okay, so like I said, that is just a rough sketch. That's what I came up with after thinking about it for a few minutes. And if I took this rough sketch and turned it into an actual outline, I would look for more ways to incorporate even more of those ingredients that we talked about, like the love triangle and the dysfunctional family. I feel like I already have room for the dysfunctional family in there, the betrayal and all of that. Like I can already see how these ingredients would come together into a longer outline, but this is just a fantastic way to get your creative juices flowing and come up with unique ideas that you genuinely feel excited about because it's everything that you love in a story. Now, if you just went through this whole process with me and now you're thinking,
okay, Abby, so I have a 1-paragraph rough sketch and like some random ingredients and tropes that I like, but how do I turn that into an actual outline for a book?
Don't worry, I've got you covered. This weekend, I'm hosting a special live training for all those writers out there who have a rough idea for a story, but you're not sure how to turn it into a fully fleshed out novel. I'm calling this one Idea to Outline, transforming your rough sketch into a book you'd love to write. In this live training, we'll break down my super simple, pantser-friendly outlining method for taking a rough idea, a rough sketch like we made today, and turning it into a coherent roadmap to writing your ultimate comfort book. In this training, you will learn how to get all your ideas out of your head and make sense of the mess, finding the emotional heart and soul of your story, the guiding compass that will keep you excited to write it day after day, how to supercharge your imagination and bring your story to life with imagery, music, and inspiration, how to craft a story roadmap that gives you a sense of direction without constricting your creativity, and taking your outline process to the next level with my flexible and fun chapter-by-chapter outlining method for those writers who want a little more structure before diving into the first draft process. You are going to have a solid foundation, a solid story outline that you're actually excited, like bursting out of your skin with excitement to sit down and write. So click the link below to save your spot at the live training. It is happening Saturday, September 6th at 1 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. And if you can't make it to the live stream, don't worry, you will still have access to watch the replay as many times as you want. And if you're watching this after the fact, you can still watch the replay with the link below this video. And when you sign up for this live training, you also get access to all my other live trainings, my entire archive vault, which is over 40+ hours of workshops diving deep into creating characters, outlining your novel, publishing, marketing, and so much more. So I hope to see you this Saturday at the live training. It's gonna be so exciting and so fun to take you through this process all the way from the rough sketch to an actual outline for a book that you're excited to sit down and write. Comment below and join the discussion. I would love to hear what ideas you came up with going through this process today and watching my process, seeing over my shoulder, a little glance at how I come up with story ideas. Smash that like button if you liked this video, and be sure to subscribe to this channel if you haven't already, because I would love to have you here in this vibrant, amazing community of writers from all over the world. Make sure you click the link below to save your spot at the live training, and I will see you this Saturday. Until then, my friend, happy brainstorming, and as always, rock on. Shh.